The morning sun cast long shadows across the grounds of Windsor Castle, but inside the private quarters darkness seemed to have settled permanently. Kate Middleton sat by the tall window, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long gone cold. Her eyes traced the familiar gardens where her children once played, where laughter had filled the air just months before. William stood at his desk, staring at the official papers that demanded his attention. The weight of the crown had always been heavy, but now it felt crushing. The nation looked to him for strength, for leadership, for hope. Yet inside he carried a burden that threatened to break him with each passing day. The secret they shared was destroying them both. It had started as a whisper in the corridors of Buckingham Palace, a rumor that the palace staff dismissed as impossible. But the whisper had grown into a roar that only they could hear. The medical reports hidden in locked drawers, the late-night phone calls with specialists, the careful scheduling that kept the truth from reaching the public eye. Kate's diagnosis had come on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The words from the doctor had hung in the air like a death sentence, though he had spoken them with professional kindness. William had held her hand so tightly that day that she later found bruises on her fingers, though she never mentioned them. They had driven home in silence, both knowing that their world had fundamentally changed forever. The children suspected nothing at first. George continued with his studies. Charlotte practiced piano with the same enthusiasm, and Louis asked endless questions about everything except the one thing his parents couldn't answer. But children notice things that adults think they hide. They saw their mother's tired eyes, their father's forced smiles, and the way conversations stopped when they entered rooms. Palace staff began to notice changes too. Kate's public appearances became fewer, always with carefully crafted explanations about family commitments or personal projects. William's schedule adjusted subtly, creating more time at home, more private moments that the press attributed to his growing dedication to family values. The machine of monarchy adapted around their secret, creating a cocoon of normalcy that protected the harsh truth underneath. The hardest part was the pretending. Every public appearance required Kate to summon strength she didn't possess, to smile for cameras when her body ached with exhaustion. William found himself studying her face before every event, searching for signs that she might not make it. Through another handshake, another speech, another moment of being the perfect princess the nation expected. Their private conversations became negotiations with time itself. How long could they maintain the facade? How much could they plan for? The future when the future had become so uncertain. They spoke in codes even when alone, as if saying the words out loud might make everything more real, more final, more impossible to bear. The medical teams sworn to secrecy became their lifeline and their prison. Dr. Richardson, Kate's primary physician, visited the palace under cover of routine checkups for the royal family. Her actual visits involved treatments that left Kate weak for days, recovery periods disguised as private family time, or minor illnesses that kept her from public view. William watched his wife transform before his eyes. The woman who had once been his anchor, his source of joy and stability, was fading despite her determined fight. Her laugh, when it came, sounded hollow. Her touch, once warm and reassuring, felt fragile as glass. Yet her spirit remained unbroken, her concern for others unchanged, her love for their family burning as bright as ever. The weight of leadership took on new meaning for William. Every decision felt magnified by the knowledge that his time with Kate was limited. He found himself memorizing moments, the way she hummed while arranging flowers, how she looked when reading bedtime stories, the soft sound of her breathing beside him in the early morning hours before the world demanded their attention. Their relationship with the public became a complex dance of truth and protection. The nation loved Kate, saw her as a symbol of modern motherhood and grace. How could they take that away? How could they burden millions of people with their private agony? The decision to keep the secret wasn't just about them. It was about preserving something beautiful in a world that often seemed too harsh, too unforgiving. Friends in their inner circle began to suspect. The Cambridges' social calendar once, filled with private dinners and family gatherings, became sparse. Invitations were declined with vague explanations. Close friends found their calls returned less frequently, their messages acknowledged, but not truly answered. The isolation was necessary but painful, another layer of loss in an already devastating situation. Kate's parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, became frequent visitors to the palace. Their presence was explained as increased family time, grandparents, wanting to be more involved with the children's lives. In reality, they came to help where they could, to provide support that couldn't come from official channels, to simply sit with their daughter when words weren't necessary. The medical treatments required careful coordination. Equipment arrived disguised as furniture deliveries. Specialists entered through private entrances, their visits logged as consultations on completely different matters. The palace household staff, loyal and discreet, adapted their routines around Kate's needs without ever acknowledging the change. In circumstances. As autumn turned to winter, the secret grew heavier. Kate's public appearances became masterpieces of concealment, carefully chosen clothing, strategic positioning, makeup that created illusions of health and vitality. Photography became a collaboration between the palace and trusted media contacts, angles chosen not just for aesthetic appeal, but for kindness to a woman fighting a battle no one could see. William found himself studying other monarchs, other leaders who had faced personal tragedies while serving their nations. How had they found the strength to continue? How had they balanced private grief with public duty? The answers seemed inadequate for the magnitude of what they faced, the impossible choice between honesty and protection, between vulnerability and strength. The children began asking questions that cut deeper than any media inquiry. Why was Mummy tired so often? Why were there so many doctors visiting? Why did Daddy look sad even when he was smiling? The innocent observations of children became the hardest challenges to navigate. Their need for truth competing with the need to preserve their childhood innocence for as long as possible. Winter settled over Britain, and with it came the realization that their secret couldn't last forever. Kate's strength was finite. William's ability to carry the burden alone was reaching its limits, and the children deserved to understand their changing world. The time was approaching when they would have to choose between the private dignity they had fought to maintain and the public honesty that their positions demanded. The Christmas season arrived with its usual pageantry, but for William and Kate, every tradition felt weighted with significance. This might be their last Christmas together as a complete family, though neither spoke this truth aloud. The palace. Decorations went up as always. Elaborate displays that would delight visitors and maintain the illusion of normalcy that had become their most exhausting performance. Kate insisted on participating in the Christmas preparations despite her declining strength. She worked alongside the staff to arrange the Christmas trees, her movements careful but determined. William watched from doorways, ready to step in if she needed support, his heart breaking each time she paused to catch her breath or steady herself against furniture. The children's excitement for Christmas became both a blessing and a torture. George had grown more observant, his 12-year-old mind picking up on tensions that adults thought they had hidden. Charlotte, ever sensitive to her mother's moods, stayed closer to Kate than usual, offering small gifts and drawings that she said would make Mummy feel better. Louis, still young enough for pure joy, provided moments of genuine laughter that reminded them all why they were fighting so hard to preserve these precious days. The royal Christmas photograph session required careful planning. The photographer, a trusted professional who had captured their family for years, noticed Kate's fragility but asked no questions. Lighting was arranged to be flattering, poses chosen to disguise her weight loss, and multiple breaks were scheduled to ensure Kate could manage the session. The resulting images would show a perfect royal family, happy and united, ready to face another year of service to the nation. Behind the scenes, medical equipment had been discreetly installed in their private apartments. IV stands were disguised. As coat racks, medication schedules were hidden within Kate's personal calendar, and a dedicated phone line connected them directly to her medical team at any hour. The palace had essentially become a private hospital, though no one outside their immediate circle understood the true purpose of these arrangements. William's role as heir apparent took on new dimensions as he began making subtle preparations for scenarios he couldn't bear to consider. Meetings with private secretaries became longer, discussions about future responsibilities more detailed. He was planning for a time when he might have to lead alone, when the partnership that had defined their public life would exist only in memory. The decision to tell the children came after Christmas dinner. They had watched Kate struggle through the meal, her appetite gone, her energy fading with each course. That evening, after the children had gone to bed, William and Kate sat together in their private sitting room and acknowledged what they could. No longer deny. The children needed to know. They deserved time to process, to ask questions, to say things that might otherwise go unsaid. The conversation happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon in January. William and Kate called the children into their private study, a room filled with family photographs and personal mementos. The children sensed the gravity of the moment immediately, their usual chatter falling silent as they arranged themselves on the sofa opposite their parents. Kate took the lead, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. She explained that she was very sick, that the doctors were doing everything they could, but that the sickness was very serious. She used words they could understand while avoiding details that might frighten them unnecessarily. She emphasized how much she loved them, how proud she was of each of them, and how important it was that they continue to be kind and brave. George, the eldest, asked the question that hung in the air. "Are you going to die, Mummy?" The directness of childhood cut through all their careful preparations. Kate's answer was honest, but gentle. She didn't know what would happen, but she wanted to make sure they had time to talk about their feelings and make good memories together. Charlotte immediately moved to her mother's side, taking her hand and promising to take care of everyone. Her maturity in that moment was both heartbreaking and inspiring. Louis, not fully understanding but sensing the sadness around him, climbed onto his father's lap and asked if this meant they couldn't go to Disneyland next summer. The innocence of his concern provided a moment of tearful laughter. The family dynamics shifted after that conversation. The children became more attentive to their mother's needs, more patient with changes in plans, more affectionate in their daily interactions. They also became protective of her in public, subtly positioning themselves to offer support during events, creating a united front that few observers recognized, but that meant everything to Kate. William's relationship with his father and brother evolved as well. King Charles, dealing with his own health challenges, understood the weight of carrying family burdens while serving the nation. Their conversations became more personal, more focused on legacy and responsibility. Harry, despite their complicated relationship, reached out with genuine concern when whispers of Kate's condition finally reached him through mutual friends. The palace press office worked overtime to manage public appearances and media inquiries. Kate's schedule was reduced gradually, with explanations that focused on her dedication to fewer, more impactful engagements. Each public appearance became a careful calculation of energy reserves and public expectations, events chosen not just for their importance, but for their manageability. Private family time became sacred. Weekends were protected fiercely, interruptions minimized, and activities chosen based on Kate's daily energy levels. They took walks in the palace gardens when she felt strong enough, had movie afternoons when she needed rest, and created new traditions that accommodated her changing needs while preserving the family connections that mattered most. The medical team expanded to include specialists who could provide Kate with the best possible care while maintaining the privacy the family needed. Treatment schedules were coordinated around public commitments, recovery periods built into the official calendar as private family time. The balance between hope and reality became a daily negotiation. William found himself becoming fiercely protective of Kate's remaining energy and time. He began declining certain engagements that he would normally handle alone, choosing instead to be present for moments that might not come again. His staff adapted to this new priority system, understanding that family had taken precedence over protocol in ways that had never been necessary before. The support network around them grew stronger and more discreet. Close friends provided emotional support without asking questions that couldn't be answered publicly. Staff members went beyond their job descriptions to provide care and consideration that came from genuine affection rather than duty. The palace community rallied around them in quiet, unspoken ways. As winter gave way to early spring, the reality of their situation continued to evolve. Kate's good days became more precious, her energy more carefully managed, and their family time more deliberately focused on creating memories that would last beyond her presence. They were living each day with the awareness that it might be among their last together, finding beauty and meaning in ordinary moments that had once been taken for granted. The secret they carried was becoming heavier, but so was their appreciation for the love surrounding them. Every smile from the children, every moment of connection between them as a couple, every successful public appearance became a victory worth celebrating. They were learning to measure success differently, to find joy in smaller increments, and to cherish what remained while they still had time to enjoy it together. Spring brought hope and despair in equal measure. The gardens around Windsor Castle bloomed with vibrant colors that seemed to mock the growing shadows within the palace walls. Kate spent her better days sitting by the windows, watching the world come alive outside while feeling her own strength ebb away like the winter frost melting under the warming sun. The decision to reduce her public engagements further was made after a particularly difficult episode during a charity event in March. Kate had managed to smile through the speeches and handshakes, but William noticed the tremor in her hands, the way she leaned more heavily on his arm, and the pallor that no amount of makeup could completely hide. That evening she collapsed in their private quarters, and William held her while she sobbed from exhaustion and frustration. Dr. Richardson's visits became more frequent, his expression growing more grave with each assessment. The treatments that had initially shown promise were losing their effectiveness. New options were presented, each with their own risks and limited chances of success. William and Kate faced impossible decisions together, weighing quality of life against quantity of time, dignity against desperate hope. The children adapted to their new reality with remarkable resilience, but signs of stress began to show. George threw himself into his studies with an intensity that worried his parents, as if academic achievement could somehow fix what was broken in their family. Charlotte became fiercely protective of her mother's privacy, growing upset when photographers took pictures or when people asked too many questions about why Mummy looked tired. Louis, still the youngest, struggled to understand why family plans changed so often. His disappointed tears when a promised outing was canceled because Mummy wasn't feeling well became some of the hardest moments for William and Kate to endure. They learned to make smaller promises, to find joy in quiet activities that could be adapted to Kate's energy levels on any given day. The media began to speculate about Kate's reduced appearances, though the palace's careful management kept the most serious questions at bay. Fashion magazines praised her for choosing sustainable wardrobe choices by repeating outfits, not knowing that shopping for new clothes had become exhausting for her. Royal watchers attributed her weight loss to a dedication to fitness, unaware of the real reasons behind her changing appearance. William's own health began to suffer under the strain of carrying their secret. He developed insomnia, lying awake at night listening to Kate's breathing, alert to any change that might signal a crisis. His appetite diminished, his famous smile required more effort to maintain, and his staff noticed that he was losing weight almost as quickly as his wife. The palace developed new protocols around Kate's care that looked routine from the outside. Medical equipment deliveries were scheduled as regular maintenance visits. Kate's lady-in-waiting was quietly replaced with someone who had nursing training. Security around their private quarters was increased under the guise of general security improvements, when really it was to ensure immediate access for medical emergencies. Easter preparations became a family project that accommodated Kate's limitations while maintaining traditions that brought them comfort. The children helped with decorating eggs, their excitement genuine despite the subdued atmosphere. Kate managed to attend Easter service, her appearance carefully planned to project strength while hiding her growing frailty. The photographs from that day would later be treasured as among the last formal family portraits they would take together. The hardest decision came in April when Kate's medical team suggested that they consider making her diagnosis public. The reasoning was practical. If her condition worsened suddenly, the nation would need time to process the news rather than being shocked by a crisis announcement. William and Kate spent sleepless nights discussing the implications of going public, weighing their desire for privacy against their duty to prepare the nation for potential loss. Kate's relationship with her mother-in-law, Queen Camilla, deepened during this period. Camilla had experienced her own health scares and understood the unique pressure of being a royal wife facing mortality. Their conversations became a source of comfort for Kate, who found in Camilla someone who understood both the public expectations and the private fears that came with their positions. The children's schools were quietly informed about the family's situation, not with specific details, but with enough information to ensure that any changes in behavior or performance would be understood and supported. Teachers were asked to provide additional emotional support while maintaining normal expectations, a delicate balance that required careful communication and trust. William began making subtle changes to his own role and responsibilities, taking on more of Kate's patronages and commitments as she stepped back. He attended events they had previously done together, explaining her absence with references to other family commitments or personal projects. Each solo appearance was a reminder of the future he might face, running the royal household and raising their children without his partner. The couple's private moments became increasingly precious and carefully orchestrated around Kate's treatment schedule. They would sit together in the garden during her better hours, talking about the children's futures, sharing memories from their courtship and early marriage, making plans for scenarios neither wanted to face. These conversations were both healing and heartbreaking necessary preparations disguised as romantic reminiscences. Kate began writing letters to each of her children, documents meant to be opened at various milestones in their lives. Her 18th birthday letter to Charlotte, her graduation advice to George, her wedding day wishes to Louis. Words of wisdom and love that she wanted to ensure they would have even if she couldn't be there to speak them in person. William found her writing one evening and had to leave the room to compose himself. The medical team's focus shifted from aggressive treatment to comfort and quality of life. This transition was never explicitly discussed, but it was understood by everyone involved. Kate's pain management became the priority, ensuring that her remaining time could be spent with her family rather than in hospitals. The palace quietly transformed to accommodate hospice-level care while maintaining the appearance of normal royal life. Public engagements were planned with backup options, alternative arrangements that could be implemented if Kate wasn't able to attend. The palace staff became expert at last-minute schedule changes, always with explanations that protected Kate's privacy while managing public expectations. Every appearance she managed became a small miracle, a gift to both her family and the nation that loved her. Summer approached with the promise of longer days and family time, but also with the knowledge that Kate's condition was progressing despite everyone's best efforts. Plans were made tentatively, with the understanding that each day was a gift that couldn't be guaranteed to extend to the next. The family learned to live in the present tense, finding joy in morning conversations, afternoon walks, and bedtime, stories that might not continue indefinitely. William's role as a father intensified as he prepared to potentially become their sole parent. He paid closer attention to the details Kate usually managed, the children's emotional needs, their schedules, their friendships and concerns. He was learning to see their family through her eyes, understanding the nurturing instincts that had made her such an effective mother and preparing to carry that forward on his own. The weight of their secret continued to grow, but so did their appreciation for the love and support surrounding them. Every day that Kate felt well enough to participate in family life was celebrated quietly. Every laugh shared, every hug exchanged, every ordinary moment became extraordinary because they understood how precious and finite these experiences had become. Summer arrived with cruel irony, bringing the warm days that Kate had always loved most. She had been planning to take the children to the beach, to have picnics in the palace gardens, to enjoy the long evenings that British summers offered so briefly. Instead, she found herself confined to air-conditioned rooms, her body unable to tolerate the heat that once brought her such joy. William canceled his scheduled tour of Scotland, claiming family priorities required his presence at home. The press accepted this explanation, praising him for his commitment to work-life balance. Only he knew that Kate's condition had taken another turn downward, that Dr. Richardson's visits had become daily occurrences, and that the children needed. Both parents present during increasingly difficult days, the palace gardens became Kate's sanctuary during her better hours. A comfortable chair was placed strategically under the old oak tree where she and William had taken engagement photos years earlier. From there, she could watch the children play, participate in conversations when she felt strong enough, and rest when her energy failed her. The children adapted their games to accommodate her limited mobility, playing closer to her chair, including her in their activities when possible. George, now 13, began showing signs of the future king he would become. He took on more responsibility with his younger siblings, helping Charlotte with her homework and entertaining Louis when their parents were occupied with medical concerns. His maturity was heartbreaking to witness, childhood ending too early under the weight of family crisis. Charlotte developed a fierce protective instinct toward her mother, becoming upset when visitors stayed too long or when photographers tried to take pictures during family outings. She seemed to understand instinctively that her mother's energy was precious and finite, rationing her own requests for attention and becoming unusually considerate for a child her age. Louis remained the family's source of spontaneous joy, his innocent questions and unexpected observations providing moments of laughter that everyone treasured. He would crawl into Kate's lap during her rest periods, content to simply be close to her, somehow sensing that his presence brought her comfort even when she was too tired for conversation. The decision to make Kate's condition public was ultimately forced by a medical emergency in late June. Kate collapsed during a private family dinner, and the paramedics who responded couldn't be sworn to secrecy like the palace medical staff. William found himself facing the choice between allowing speculation to run wild or controlling the narrative by releasing the truth on their own terms. The announcement was carefully crafted, released on a Friday evening to give the family weekend, privacy to deal with the initial media response. The statement was brief but honest, acknowledging Kate's serious illness without providing details that would compromise her dignity or the children's privacy. It asked for respect for the family's need for privacy during this difficult time. The nation's response was overwhelming and immediate. Flowers began appearing at palace gates within hours of the announcement. Social media filled with messages of support, prayers, and shared stories of families facing similar challenges. The outpouring of love was both comforting and overwhelming for a family that had grown accustomed to carrying their burden in private. Kate's first public appearance after the announcement was at a small charity event she had specifically requested to attend. She appeared fragile but dignified, her smile genuine despite her obvious exhaustion. The photographs from that event would become iconic. A princess facing mortality with grace, surrounded by people whose lives she had touched through her charitable work. The children's reactions to the public knowledge varied. George felt relief that he no longer had to maintain secrets when friends asked about his mother's health. Charlotte worried about strangers knowing private family information, feeling protective of details that belonged to them alone. Louis didn't fully understand why everyone was suddenly talking about Mummy being sick, but he liked the extra attention and gifts that arrived at the palace. William's public role evolved to accommodate his new reality as both a future king and a man caring for his dying wife. His speeches began including references to the importance of family, the preciousness of time, and the strength that comes from facing difficulties together. He spoke with an authenticity that resonated deeply with audiences who were watching him navigate public duty while dealing with private grief. The medical team's focus shifted entirely to comfort care, ensuring that Kate could spend her remaining time with minimal pain and maximum opportunity for family connections. The palace was equipped with everything necessary to provide hospital-level care while maintaining the home environment that Kate preferred. Kate's relationship with her children intensified as they all understood that their time together was limited. She began sharing stories from her own childhood, family history that she wanted them to remember, values and lessons that she hoped would guide them throughout their lives. These conversations were recorded, both formally for future reference and informally in the children's hearts. The summer schedule was completely reorganized around Kate's daily energy patterns and medical needs. Family activities were planned for her best hours, usually late morning when her pain medication was most effective and before the afternoon fatigue set in. Simple pleasures became profound experiences, reading together, watching movies, having tea in the garden when weather permitted. Kate's friendship network rallied around the family in ways that surprised everyone. Friends who had drifted away during the years of royal duties returned to offer support. Childhood friends, university roommates, and fellow mothers from the children's schools all found ways to provide comfort while respecting the family's need for privacy. The royal family's public engagements were reorganized to provide Kate with companionship during William's necessary absences. King Charles adjusted his schedule to spend time with his daughter-in-law, their relationship deepening as they shared conversations about legacy, family, and the responsibilities that come with royal position. Queen Camilla became a regular presence, offering practical support and emotional understanding. Kate's parents moved temporarily to apartments within the palace complex, providing daily support while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Her mother, Carol, became especially important during Kate's difficult days, offering the comfort that only a mother can provide to a daughter facing the unthinkable. The media's treatment of the family changed dramatically after the public announcement. Photographers became more respectful, understanding that they were documenting historic moments in the life of a beloved public figure. Articles focused on Kate's charitable legacy and the positive impact she had made during her years of royal service. Kate began working on her final public project, a foundation focused on supporting families dealing with serious illness. She wanted her experience to help others navigate similar challenges, to provide resources and support that hadn't been available to them during their private struggle. The work gave her purpose during difficult days and ensured that her legacy would continue to help others long after she was gone. The children's schools provided additional support, understanding that the family was dealing with circumstances beyond normal parental guidance. Teachers offered flexibility with assignments, counselors provided emotional support, and classmates were encouraged to treat the royal children with extra kindness during this difficult time. As summer progressed, the family learned to measure success in smaller increments, successful meals eaten together, comfortable nights of sleep, moments when Kate felt strong enough to participate in activities that brought her joy. Each day became precious not for its achievements, but for its simple existence, for the opportunity it provided to love and be loved while there was still time. September brought a bittersweet beauty to the palace grounds, with autumn colors beginning to show in the leaves that Kate watched from her bedroom window. The changing seasons served as a gentle reminder of life's natural cycles, bringing both melancholy and acceptance to a family learning to say goodbye. Kate's condition had stabilized somewhat, giving them precious additional time that no one had dared to hope for during the difficult summer months. The children returned to school with new maturity and perspective that set them apart from their classmates. George carried himself with the dignity of someone who understood that life could change without warning, that happiness was something to be treasured rather than taken for granted. His teachers noted his increased empathy toward other students, his willingness to help those who were struggling, and his new appreciation for ordinary moments. Charlotte threw herself into activities that would make her mother proud, excelling in her studies and showing kindness to younger students. She began writing in a diary, documenting daily life and her feelings about her mother's illness. The diary would later become one of her most treasured possessions, a record of courage during impossible circumstances. Lewis adapted to the changes in family dynamics with the flexibility that comes naturally to young children. He spent more time with his grandparents, developed closer relationships with palace staff who helped care for him, and learned to treasure the moments when his mother felt well enough to play with him or read bedtime stories. Kate's public appearances became increasingly rare and carefully planned events. Each one required days of preparation, medical consultations, and energy conservation strategies that would allow her to fulfill her duties while protecting her health. When she did appear publicly, the nation watched with a mixture of admiration and heartbreak, seeing their princess face adversity with unwavering grace. William's role as primary caregiver added new dimensions to his character that the public began to recognize and admire. His genuine devotion to Kate, his hands-on approach to parenting during this crisis, and his ability to balance public duties with family needs earned him respect that went beyond his royal title. He was becoming the king the nation would need, tempered by personal loss, but strengthened by love. The palace medical team expanded to include specialists in palliative care who understood how to provide comfort while preserving dignity. Kate's room was transformed into a peaceful sanctuary filled with photographs of happy family moments, artwork created by the children, and flowers from the gardens she loved. Medical equipment was disguised or hidden when possible, maintaining the home environment she needed. Kate began the difficult process of saying goodbye to people who had been important in her life. Friends visited quietly, former colleagues from her charitable work came to share memories and express gratitude, and family members spent time reminiscing about happier occasions. Each visit required careful planning around her energy levels and medical needs, but Kate insisted on maintaining these connections while she still could. The children's relationship with their mother evolved into something deeper and more intentional during these months. Conversations focused on values, dreams, and the lessons Kate wanted to share while she still had time. She recorded videos for their future birthdays, graduations, and wedding days, messages of love and guidance that would carry her presence forward through their lives. William documented these months obsessively, taking photographs and videos of ordinary moments that would become priceless memories. Kate reading to the children, family dinners where she felt well enough to participate, quiet conversations in the garden during her stronger hours. He was creating a visual legacy that would help the children remember their mother's final months, with love rather than just sadness. The foundation Kate had established to help other families facing serious illness began to take shape during her stronger days. Working with trustees and staff, she developed programs that would provide practical support, emotional resources, and advocacy for families navigating medical crises. The work gave her purpose and ensured that her personal experience would help others long after she was gone. Kate's relationship with King Charles deepened during these final months, their conversations focusing on the children's futures and the royal responsibilities they would inherit. Charles shared stories from his own childhood, wisdom gained from decades of royal service, and promises to guide and support his grandchildren through the challenges that lay ahead. The media's coverage during this period struck a respectful balance between public interest and family privacy. Photographers captured Kate's public appearances with sensitivity, understanding that they were documenting historic moments in the life of a beloved public figure. Articles focused on her charitable legacy and the positive impact she had made during her years of royal service. Kate's parents became integral parts of the daily routine, providing practical support and emotional comfort during the most difficult days. Her mother spent hours simply sitting with Kate, offering the wordless comfort that only comes from a mother's presence. Her father helped with the children's activities, providing stability and continuity during uncertain times. The autumn months brought a sense of urgency to family activities and conversations. Christmas preparations began earlier than usual, with Kate participating in planning despite her limited energy. She wanted to ensure that the holidays would be special for the children, creating memories that would carry them through future Christmases when she wouldn't be there to share them. Kate's spiritual life became increasingly important during these months, providing comfort and perspective that helped her face her situation with remarkable courage. Private chapel services were arranged when she felt strong enough to attend, and spiritual counselors visited regularly to provide guidance and support for the entire family. The children began showing signs of anticipatory grief, the complex emotions that come with knowing that loss is approaching. They became more clingy with their mother during her stronger periods, more protective of their time together, and more aware of the preciousness of ordinary moments that they had previously taken for granted. William's sleep patterns deteriorated. As Kate's condition fluctuated, his parental instincts keeping him alert to any changes that might signal medical emergencies. Palace staff quietly arranged for additional support during his most exhausted periods, ensuring that both Kate's care and the children's needs could be met even when he was running on empty. The couple's private conversations during these months focused on practical matters mixed with profound expressions of love. They discussed the children's futures, William's role as a single father, and Kate's hopes for how she would be remembered. These talks were both heartbreaking and healing, necessary preparations disguised as loving reminiscences. Kate's extended family made pilgrimages to the palace during these months, understanding that opportunities to spend time with her were precious and finite. Cousins, aunts, uncles, and old friends all found ways to express their love and share memories, creating a network of support that surrounded Kate with warmth during her final months. The autumn garden became Kate's favorite place during her stronger hours. Wrapped in blankets to protect against the cooling air, surrounded by the natural beauty that had always brought her peace. From her chair under the oak tree, she could watch the children play, participate in family conversations when energy allowed, and find tranquility in the changing seasons that reminded everyone that life continues even as individual stories come to their conclusions. December arrived with an unexpected gift. Kate experienced what her medical team called a period of stabilization, where her pain decreased and her energy improved enough for her to participate more fully in Christmas preparations. The family approached the holidays with cautious hope, understanding that this might be their last Christmas together, but determined to make it as special as possible for the children. Kate insisted on shopping for Christmas presents, though the excursions were carefully planned around her energy levels and medical needs. William accompanied her to small, private boutiques that could accommodate her wheelchair when necessary, and she spent precious energy choosing gifts that would carry special meaning for each family member. Each purchase was made with the knowledge that it might be the last present she would personally select for her loved ones. The children threw themselves into Christmas traditions with an intensity that reflected their understanding of the season's significance. George helped decorate the Christmas trees with ornaments that held family memories, handling each one with the reverence usually reserved for sacred objects. Charlotte organized family carol singing sessions, her clear voice leading them through songs that brought both joy and tears to everyone who listened. Louis remained blissfully focused on the magic of Christmas, his excitement infectious and healing for adults who were struggling with heavier emotions. His letters to Father Christmas included requests for his mother to feel better, alongside typical childhood wishes for toys and treats. His innocent faith provided comfort to everyone around him during the darkest moments. The palace Christmas celebration was scaled to accommodate Kate's needs while maintaining traditions that mattered to the family. Extended family gatherings were smaller and shorter, allowing Kate to participate without becoming overwhelmed. Each event was planned with backup options in case she wasn't feeling well enough to attend, but remarkably, she managed to be present for most of the important moments. King Charles and Queen Camilla spent Christmas Eve with the family, their presence providing stability and continuity during uncertain times. Charles read Christmas stories to the children, his voice carrying the weight of generations of royal tradition, while Camilla helped Kate with small tasks that preserved her energy for the activities that mattered most to her. Kate's parents joined them for Christmas dinner, a meal that required careful planning to accommodate her dietary restrictions and energy levels. The conversation was deliberately light and happy, focusing on positive memories and future plans rather than the shadow that hung over their gathering. Photographs from that dinner would later be treasured as the last formal family portraits they would take together. The gift exchange on Christmas morning became a celebration of love rather than material abundance. Kate had prepared letters for each family member, words of gratitude and affection that expressed everything she wanted them to know about their importance in her life. Her gift to William was a photo album documenting their life together, each page accompanied by her handwritten notes about the memories they had created. William's gift to Kate was a commissioned painting of their garden view from her bedroom window, capturing the scene she had watched through all seasons of her illness. The artist had painted it during one of Kate's stronger days, when she was able to sit outside and provide input about the colors and details that mattered most to her. The children's gifts to their mother reflected their growing maturity and understanding of her situation. George gave her a bound collection of essays he had written about their family adventures, memories preserved in his own words for her to treasure. Charlotte presented a scrapbook of photographs and drawings that documented their mother's charitable work and public service, a legacy preserved through a child's eyes. Louis gave his mother a handmade coupon book offering services like breakfast, in bed, extra hugs, and bedtime stories, simple gifts that represented his desire to care for her in the ways that he understood. His innocent generosity brought tears to everyone who witnessed the exchange. The days between Christmas and New Year became a precious pause in time, when the family could simply exist together without the pressures of public duties or medical appointments. Kate felt strong enough to participate in quiet activities, watching movies together, playing board games adapted to accommodate her limited energy, and having long conversations about everything and nothing. New Year's Eve was celebrated quietly at home, with Kate managing to stay awake until midnight for the first time in months. The family watched fireworks from her bedroom window, bundled together under warm blankets, making wishes for the coming year that everyone hoped might bring a miracle while fearing what reality might deliver instead. January brought a noticeable decline in Kate's condition, the brief Christmas improvement giving way to increased weakness and pain that could no longer be managed as effectively. The medical team adjusted their approach once again, focusing entirely on comfort and family time rather than treatments that were no longer providing meaningful benefits. Kate's final public appearance was at a small ceremony to formally launch her Family Support Foundation, an event she insisted on attending despite her obvious frailty. Photographs from that day showed her surrounded by people whose lives she had touched, her smile radiant despite her physical weakness. Her brief speech, delivered while seated to conserve energy, became a testament to the power of love and service in the face of adversity. The children's understanding of their mother's approaching death evolved gradually, helped by counselors, who specialized in supporting families through terminal illness. They were encouraged to express their feelings through art, writing, and conversation, creating outlets for emotions that were too complex for children to carry alone. William's role as both husband and future single father intensified during these final weeks, as he balanced providing emotional support to Kate with preparing himself and the children for the changes that lay ahead. His strength during this period became legendary among palace staff, who witnessed his unwavering devotion and grace under impossible pressure. Kate spent her final weeks surrounded by love, with family members taking turns sitting with her, reading to her, and simply being present during her conscious hours. The room was filled with photographs of happy moments, flowers from the gardens she loved, and the voices of children who continued to need their mother even as they prepared to lose her. Her death came peacefully on a quiet February morning, with William holding her hand and the children nearby, sleeping after keeping vigil through the night. The palace announcement was simple and dignified, expressing gratitude for the outpouring of support the family had received and asking for privacy as they grieved their profound loss. The nation mourned with them, remembering a princess who had faced death with the same grace and dignity she had brought to life. Her legacy lived on through the foundation she had established, the children she had raised with such love, and the example she had set of courage in the face of unimaginable challenge. William's journey as a widower and single father began immediately, supported by family, friends, and a nation that had watched them face their darkest hours together. The strength Kate had given him, the love they had shared, and the children who carried her spirit forward became the foundation for a future none of them had wanted, but all of them would face with the courage she had taught them.